Hi, everybody. Matt Lawton here, and this is the Astrological Winds channel. I'm going to take a look at the astrological weather report for the week of October 28th through November 3rd. And normally I would do the monthly on this blog too, but there is so much going on this week as compared to last week when I said we had kind of a mellower week that there's just not going to be enough time to get the monthly into. So what I'll do is I'll do the monthly for November next week. But this week we've got the new moon in Scorpio. We've got Mars moving into Leo. We got Mercury moving into Sagittarius. We've got the Jupiter Chiron sextile being hit again. So we got a lot going on this week. So just want to really focus in on that, and won't be able to go out as much, expound as much on some of the stuff since there is so much to go over. But just a little business first. The Astrological Winds channel is a free video blog that I do on YouTube every week. And if you have a YouTube account and you like what you see, you can become a follower. And I'd like that. And don't forget to turn your notifications on when you do that. And remember also, this is available as a podcast too. It was a podcast long before it was a video blog. So just go out there on your favorite podcast, look up Astrological Winds channel. You should be able to find it. Buzzsprout puts it out. About 20 different ones pick it up. You should be able to find it out there. I know Apple picks it up. So also Instagram has an Astrological Winds channel has an Instagram page. I post the link to the blog every week on that, so you get it in your newsreel. Sometimes I post additional comments just on Instagram too during the week. Not haven't been doing it as much lately, but yeah, so that's a good way to find it. Also, put it on my private Facebook page. If you want to friend me, it's Matthew Matthew Lawton Lauten, and you'll see it come up on your private, on your newsreel. And the other place you can always find it is on my website, and that's www.astrologicalwinds.com. And I embed all the blogs there. I keep them up for a while, so if you need to refer back to a blog from the past, like the monthly or whatever, or a couple weeks ago, they're there. I also do a weekly calendar page there. So, and also, the website shows all the services that I offer as a professional astrologer. I've been a professional astrologer for over 20 years after 7 years of training and testing for that. Many clients would love to do your chart, or someone else that you know, or any other astrological service you're looking for. There's many different ones, and that's why I have a menu there. And you can take a look at that, and I will work with you. Drop me a contact. The email is matthure823@gmail.com. But once again, that's all on the website, www.astrologicalwinds.com. Now, this is a free service that I do for the blog. I ask everyone to pay it forward by passing on the link to someone else in your contact list. And if you've done it once, please do it again. If you've done it more than once, if you can do it again, I'd really appreciate that. If you'd like to give a currency donation to the blog, it does cost me a little bit of money to put it out. It enters you into a raffle at the end of the year to win a free reading of your choice, and for any $5 that you give. And my Cash App is the $ Matthew with 2 T's, Lawton, Lauten, or Venmo is the @ the A with the circle, Matthew hyphen in the middle, Lauten. So thank you all who have given, and appreciate all of you who follow. And remember, if you're not really astute with astrology, don't get lost on the terms, the astrological terms. You want to hear my interpretations in between. That's the energy we're working with this week. As long as you know the energy, you can be more in the flow with it. You don't have to know necessarily why that energy set up. And of course, there are a lot of people who enjoy letting them know the astrology part too, but I don't like those other people that get caught up. So a lot of stuff going on this week. First off, both Mars and Mercury are going to be changing signs. So that means they're at the end of the signs they're in, right? Mars in Cancer, Mercury in Scorpio, which means, once again, I've been talking about this for months now, right? Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, all at the end of their signs. What does that mean? When the inner planets get near the end of their signs, it aspects all those 3 outer planets before they change signs. So so that's going to be going on this week. Both Mars and Mercury hitting those outer planets. Venus is a little active this week, especially hitting the Jupiter Chiron sextile, which I've been talking about for several weeks now again. And then we have a new moon on Friday at 10 degrees Scorpio. So a lot to talk about. Now, Monday today, Mars is trine Neptune and Venus is square Saturn. That's kind of a funny little mix up there. They're really not very similar energies, the two of them. They're very, very, very different energies, but I do see a couple ways where we can work them together, so that's always the important part, is how we blend all these energies together, and what do we come up with and can work with then. So Mars trine Neptune, Mars is all about our actions, and when Mars is trine Neptune, our actions slow down, but they're in a great harmony. They're in a great flow. It's like almost the flow of the Tao. It's great energy for doing things like meditation, yoga, tai chi, swimming, hikes in nature, stuff where the body is not really being pushed really hard, but is still physically outputting, right? And this is a time too where, so like the energy is not really super high energy, but it can be tapped into, is my point. But this is a time too where we're very apt to get involved in helping out others too, with our work, with our actions, that we're in a zone where we're willing to help people who need help. So we could get more involved in charitable type work today, or just helping with people who need, who may have less than we do, and we're just trying to help them out, in a good spirit. This is something we want to do, is a good way to say it. Now, this is also really good energy for spiritual journeys, right? Just like any kind of spiritual journey that you would have. So now, what's interesting about it, it's, here we got the Venus square Saturn happening on the same day, and Mars trine Neptune can be, it's a little bit quieter, and that's where Venus Saturn, where it can work with Venus Saturn. Venus Saturn is more about relationships, and it's about having like this sober, realistic view of what's going on in your relationships right now, and just like really evaluating either certain relationships or all your relationships, and being very realistic about them. And that can be difficult, because what happens is we find out that a lot of people can't live up to our standards or our ideals, right? And so it can really inside make us kind of feel lonely, even depressed, that no one can quite ever reach the standards that we want. So this can, shut us down, really, as far as the amount of communication that goes on with others on a day like today. And with Mars, Neptune too, being kind of a more chill, quiet energy, that's one of the ways the two of them work together, in my opinion, is that they just quiet us down. We're not going to express our emotions quite as much. We're going to be more like keeping those emotions inside and going over them on the inside. And there, it can be a time too, with the Venus Saturn in particular, where we will have serious discussions with certain people over serious practical matters, but we don't get very much involved on the emotional spectrum, and it's definitely like a conservative approach to things too. And Venus is square Saturn, we kind of get conservative about our finances, things like that. We could even realize that we are in a financial crunch, and that we do have to figure out a way to restrict some of our spending and stuff, and it also can kind of restrict our normal creative abilities too. It's more of a day where we can kind of go back over things that we've already created, but there's not a lot of new creative spark going on. But more than anything, like I said, this is about relationships, and at times maybe even feeling victimized in relationships, feeling under the thumb of authorities who are insensitive and hurt you, So it's, it can be a little bit of a struggle on that level. But I really think this is a day where, if you can spend most of it alone in a contemplative state and kind of do some, softer exercises to let out some of the frustration you may be feeling about the evaluation of relationships and where they're at, or, financial stress or things like that. That would be the best way to use this energy. And, Mars, like I said, Mars and Neptune also give a very contemplative mind. So, we can kind of look into that on a certain level too, and see what really means all to us. And then we go to Wednesday, and that's when Mercury starts moving really close to the end of Scorpio, and it's going to oppose Uranus on Wednesday. Mercury opposite Uranus. So remember, Mercury and Uranus have something in common, and that is the mind. They are, the two planets that rule the mind, basically. Mercury working on the intellectual, everyday, practical level of the mind, whereas Uranus is working on the creative, intuitional, getting a lot of insights that come in big packages. So when Mercury is opposite Uranus, that's exactly what's happening. It is like super stimulation of the mind day, like with an opposition, it's coming at us, coming at us from mainly people and relationships. Information, too much information, like that old Police song, right? Too much information going through my head. That's what Mercury Uranus is about when it gets into an opposition. It's just like so much input coming in, and it's really difficult to stay disciplined about anything. It gets really sloppy. We can overlook a lot of details, get ourselves worked up like into a nervous frenzy because we're seemingly constantly having to make decisions, and we end up making a lot of poor decisions because we haven't fully integrated the information. There's just too much input coming at us. So this is a time where we can make a lot of little mistakes. We overlook details, trip ourselves up a lot, and can find that, and then also we can be very jumpy, defensive about like a lot of the ideas. We can get some great insights under Mercury Uranus, but it's hard to determine what those are when there's so much coming at us. But we can get very much like, wanting to push some of that stuff and get like really worked up in a way about like, okay, this is what I need to say. This is what I kind of like what I'm doing right now, right? So it can make us like impulsive with our decision making. So we have to be really careful about, making really, saying hasty things that we regret really quickly, making decisions that are too impulsive when we didn't have all the information or we were kind of scattered out. So, it is a day where, if we can discipline ourselves, we can take in more information, especially in the science and technological realms that can help us out in whatever we're doing. So if you can work with those things and trying to get your messaging out, it can actually be helpful there. But it's very, like I said, very impulsive energy, mainly because there's just going to be so much coming at us. And then the very next day, Mercury actually trines Neptune. So it kind of gets out of this very jumpy left brain kind of energy and goes into the right brain, where it's like goes into this very creative flowing energy where we can get really into some deep abstract conversations about philosophy and mysticism and all kinds of subject matter that's like artistic. This is great for using words artistically. Mercury trine Neptune, we have a very rich imagination, very, very inspired by what we see. We're very sensitive. The mind can pick up the thoughts of other people, and it also can see things in these packages that like come from an abstract place but see the whole thing. So there can be a lot of imagination and inspiration that come out of that. And once again, just like the Mars Neptune earlier in the week, this is a really good one for like spiritual journeys again too, like just the study of different spiritual stuff, mystical stuff, interest in like subtle worlds, other types of worlds, that are beyond the normal realm, it will be really fired up on a Mercury trine Neptune also. So, like I said, very sensitive to all to the energy around us. Definitely focused more on like a higher plane energy, and so that will help calm down some of that Mercury Uranus from the day before. Now, Friday's a big day, and through the weekend there's a lot going on. So Friday is actually the day of the new moon. The new moon in Scorpio, and that's at 10 degrees Scorpio, right? So that's where you want to look in your chart. Where is 10 degrees Scorpio? That house, and whatever that house represents, is where you're going to see new things start to pop up in your life. So like I've always, new phase is like when we plant seeds. So this is a time where you look into that area of your chart, and this is where you can plant some new seeds, some new energy, try to get something different going. Now, the new moon, the moon in Scorpio is a very intense moon. It's actually in fall there, and it's considered weak because the emotions are just so intense that they border on like, going from passionate to dramatic, and so with Scorpio energy, the way we feel, of making a connection with others and feeling safe and secure is many times through drama, like, having these very intense connections on an emotional level. And that's what Scorpio wants. It wants to go deeply with others, and if it's good, it's very passionate. And, Scorpio energy wants to hone in on just one or just a few relationships and get very deep on the emotional level. Remember, Scorpio is fixed emotions. So these are some of the deepest emotions. They're deep seated within us, and they're, and we can, and it's a lot of it is not willing to be shared. It's very secretive type of information, and we're seeking people who we can get intimate and deep enough that we trust enough that they would be one of the few people we'd make that deep of a connection with, but we're looking for these really deeply shared emotional experiences where we can really sink in. So if we can't get that on the level of passion, then we will go over to drama. And that's where, the Scorpio energy can get really intense when we start to manipulate others or fall into games of power, obsession, possession, trying to coerce others, going into like, victim roles and subordinate dom roles, things like that are unbalanced, and trying to get this emotional need that we have to be met. Now, Scorpio also, you'll find you'll have a very deep love of deep subject matter too, things from the human mind, psyche, psychology, deep study, stuff like that, the occult, things that are very, very intense energy, like stuff that's coming up from the subconscious and you usually don't talk about in polite circles. That's the Scorpio energy of wanting to like go down onto a level of like that and get below the surface, get to the bottom of everything. And it's, and that's the best way to use this energy, is to anything you want to get to the bottom of, use the research mind of this energy to hone in on it. And that way, instead of, getting possessed or obsessed about some kind of emotional output, you can really focus that energy in and get really deep on something that you want to know more about, how the inner workings of something is that you're interested in is really making it work. Now, interesting enough too, there's only one aspect this new moon is making, and it's going to be applying to a trine to Saturn. Okay. And so that, I think, will help stabilize some of the intensity of the Scorpio moon. Now, remember, Scorpio's not going to talk very much in the first place, right? It's like I said, it's honing in on just a few people that it really can have that deep connection with, rather than scattering out its energy in superficial ways. So it's not going to talk very much in the first place. And then Trine Saturn is ditto. It's going to be like, listen, there's emotions going on, but I'm really adept at keeping them inside, right? And just speaking about the things that are like more on the practical side that I need to connect you with. So like, I think this can help discipline some of the intensity of the new moon, and instead of allowing it to fall into like some dramatic zone, actually give us that desire to use that energy in this focused, concentrated way to get into the nitty gritty details of things that we're working on with this trine to Saturn. So I really like that support of that. Like it's kind of blending in with that part of Scorpio that wants to kind of keep quiet anyway, and only wants to say things that it feels like are measured and worthy of saying at that point. So I think that's a really good combination there. The other thing that's interesting about this too, Scorpio does have a lot of respect for people who know things and wanting to learn more from them. And that trine to Saturn, same thing. It's like if you are going to go out and like communicate and talk, it's like out to get more advice from people who know more things than you, who have more experience in certain things. So that's that. Now, what's really interesting about this new moon too is it's in Scorpio, right? So it's ruled by Mars, and so I use the traditional rulership still. So Mars right now is at the critical 30th degree of Cancer, which is a sign, as I've said over and over, that it does not like. It's in fall because it's got to consider emotions before it acts. But it's that Mars, though, if you remember earlier in the blog, is trining Neptune this week, and it's also trining Mercury in Scorpio. So what we have is the ruler of the new moon is in a grand trine, grand water trine. Mars in Cancer, trine Mercury in Scorpio, trine Neptune in Pisces. So this is a really good flow. I think once you realize the people you really want to get deep and connect with this new moon in Scorpio, this really opens up the emotions between you and the other, where it just is this beautiful flow that's working together, and the ability to articulate your emotions in a really deep place where it's really safe too, where they're holding that space for you, and with people with very similar ideals that you have. So you're feeling like, you have that connection too, and they're able to like emotionally respond to you too with all this water energy, to have that sensitivity, to have the emotional intelligence, to have the emotional intuition to respond to people in a way that's sensitive and empathic. And so I really think this new moon could really build some very deep, passionate, intensely emotions that are what I mean on the good side, where you can really go to places with people that with other people you really can't get to. Certain people you can really connect to on a deep level emotionally that is not available for most of the people in your life. So, and when you do that, there's this just beautiful flow. And I think that will really help that what Scorpio wants. It wants that deeper connection, and therefore won't have to feel like it has to create some drama to go and get that. Despite the moon being in this weak sign, I really feel the trine to Saturn and the grand trine of the ruler, Mars, is going to help bring it to that place where you can step back and not allow yourself to get over dramatized and take it to a wild, crazy place. Now, interestingly enough, Saturday, the Mercury makes the exact trine to Mars. So like the new moon is going to be very potent also on Saturday. I mean, this is a time when you can really articulate your emotions well. You can really stand up for what you believe in, the thoughts and beliefs you have, without putting other people off, like where you can make, a strong conviction, a strong argument of the way you see things without driving other people away from that. So I think it's very non-threatening. And that actually, Mercury trine Mars is actually really good for public speaking or speaking in groups too. And in all this water, you can make a really good emotional connection with groups with your words and stuff. But it's really good for not putting people off. And then to top it all off, at the same time, remember, it's at the end of the sign. So Pluto right at the end of the sign, Mercury's going to sextile Pluto on the same day as the trine to Mercury. And so that's very much continuing that Scorpio new moon energy, where once we find those people that we can have those deep, safe, one-on-one connections with, the Mercury sextile Pluto says we can get into these really profound conversations with those people that are transformative to both parties, that are like, helping us to evolve, basically, and just come up with some just amazingly deep connections with others, and like where everything is out on the table, and it just feels safe, and it feels like something new that is very expansive and transformative is growing out of that, so very, very interesting energy there. And then of course, that's right before Mercury changes signs. So then Mercury later in the day on Saturday is going to go into Sagittarius. Now, Mercury's in Sagittarius, it's actually in a weak sign traditionally. It's called in detriment when it's in Sagittarius. And the reason being is like Mercury can kind of fly off the handle in what it believes in Sagittarius. It's kind of like fanaticism is a good word. If you were going to describe Mercury in Sagittarius, blind fanaticism, right? Like where you're so sure of what you're thinking and believing that you literally create a blind spot to any other input that's coming in. So that's why when it's in Sagittarius, Mercury is considered weak. It overlooks the details of things with its grander vision. It's taking so much in, and it's like, overlooking details, and therefore ends up making a lot of poor decisions based on not taking care of those things. Now, it does give a very curious academic mind. It wants to take in more information, and it is a lot more tolerant of what those sources are. In fact, we get a lot of information many times with Mercury and Sagittarius from other cultures, or people from other cultures, or people who are very, very different than we are, so it's like, it's definitely one of these things like where we are really interested in advancing our knowledge. Like we have a lot of base knowledge, but we want to take more in and create a bigger mountain of secondary knowledge off of that. And so we are very willing to take it in from any source. We really, really are open up. And what's good too, it does, like I said, it overlooks the details, but it can see the bigger patterns in things, Mercury and Sagittarius, and really hone in on that. But that's where we're going to make this, make the mistakes, is on the little details, and we are very blunt and honest with our words too, so we can be insensitive. That's another reason why Mercury is in detriment here. The planet of communication, just being insensitive with the words that it's saying, detached a little bit too much emotionally, and therefore, can hurt others' feelings. So quite a day there. And then Sunday tops it all off. There's more stuff going on Sunday too. Quite, like I said, quite a week, a lot of stuff going on. And I really wish I could go a little bit deeper in details, but so much going on, you guys. So Sunday is a very intense, remember Mars also at the end of its sign. Very intense Mars-Pluto opposition Sunday. So this weekend's a time where you just want to stay away from dangerous people and places. Literally, this is the energy of power, Mars, Pluto. It's the energy, and it can be blind power, and it's based on ambition. It's based on wanting more. So if you're in a place or around people that are that have a tendency to be like power mongers, violent people and stuff, this is a very triggering energy for them. That gives an incredible amount of ambition and drive and endurance, which is great if you're freaking working on a thing that is benefiting not only you but other people, and you're trying to make transformation and get rid of old stuff to allow new stuff to come in, build up new structures, new forms. But most people with Mars opposite Pluto are holding on to the old power bases, and they're using everything within their means to control others and their environment. And so that way, and people can literally get underhanded and ruthless with this energy. It is very egotistical. It is very hard to see beyond the self. And you can imagine how this will all line up, in this election season with, with the way people are going. But, so it's just like wanting, really to change things. And if you can be conscious of that and conscious of the way you approach it, then it's an incredible power to transform your environment and situations and things around you. But unfortunately, most people cannot control the strong ambition to be in power and to control everything and everyone around this. So you can get into some crazy power struggles and battles that literally can get violent with this energy. And then later in the day on Sunday, Mars goes into Leo, so it finally gets out of Cancer. It's going to be so happy to get out of Cancer, where it just does not function well. It goes into Leo, a fire sign that it really vibes much better with. And when Mars is in Leo, we have a lot of initiative, action, energy. We have a lot of ambition. We are really pushing our agenda. And it's good. We stay positive. We stay optimistic, but we can get very pushy and arrogant. We can get, we want recognition. There's a lot of pride involved in what we're doing. And so we can get pompous, we can get arrogant, we can get obnoxious when we're not feeling like we're getting. But we really keep an optimistic attitude even when we're like that. We lead by our own actions. We get out there and do. This is the energy of a lot of like leadership, taking risks that we normally wouldn't, having more courage than we normally have to like really go out there and demand from the world what we want from it. But we have to be really careful because it's really easy to inflate the ego and cross the line and get very arrogant and preachy and be like a know-it-all and turn people off, and that's not helping, and that's really not helping what you're trying to achieve. So very, very interesting energy. And then Mars will be in Leo for a couple months. So it's going to be quite a shift after being in Cancer these last couple months. Now, remember, I've talked about that Jupiter Chiron sextile. It's been going on for 2 or 3 weeks now. One of the biggest things of October. It's exact again this Sunday, and Chiron and Jupiter are going to be hit by Venus Sunday too. So it's going to be a very active energy that Sunday. And so Venus will be trining Chiron, and it'll be opposite Jupiter. And so this is really good energy for relationships. Once again, I really think this week, despite a lot of challenges, that you could really deepen certain relationships. And this is just another one. It will bring in healing energy to relationships. We learn so much about ourselves through the other and how we can handle the things that come up, and that we can handle that. And then, the Venus Jupiter is just like, it's such a fine, feeling good relationship energy. It's passive for sure, and it can be indulgent and lazy, but it's really about making these beautiful connections, of higher and lower love together, and with the philosophies that we have and the values that we have, and finding people that, we are sharing that with. So this brings very healing energy into our life, and we can build these supportive relationships that can bring a lot of joy. in the long term in our life, a lot of satisfaction. But in general, too, on Sunday with the Venus opposite Jupiter, it is a great day for R&R. It is a great day to hang out with your friends, with your family, have a barbecue, have some fun, have a party, socialize. People are going to get indulgent. They're not going to be really into working or doing anything that requires a lot of energy. It's very passive, mellow. Let's enjoy ourselves. Let's sweep all the stuff under the rug today and really have some fun. But really, I think with this new moon and this energy with the Jupiter Chiron sextile being hit by Venus, that there's just a lot of energy this week in honing in on the relationships that you want to get deep with and realizing the ones you don't want to, and being able to put them into your little slots and really, getting some deep satisfaction out of the ones where you can express the emotions that you want to express in deep and passionate and intimate ways, and realize which ones that will never reach that, and that you gotta kind of keep them a little bit more business-like. But a great week once again to plant new seeds. Look to that place in your chart where that 10 degrees Scorpio is, and that'll tell you where. And then, like I said, these two signs changing. I mean, that, Mars going to Leo is going to activate us, get us a lot more energetic over the next couple months of really pushing the things we want to do. And Mercury into Sag, we just have to be a little bit careful about going overboard with our, and not looking at, the details of things and getting a little impulsive and tripping ourselves up. But a lot of energy this week, you guys. And, if there was half this stuff, I could have gone on and, really gotten even deeper into it. But that is the gist of a lot of the energy. I know. And like I said, I will look at the monthly stuff for November next week when there's less going on, and we'll look at the long-term stuff. But we already know, right? Jupiter Chiron is still available to us. The sextile, very positive energy to work with, healing through our relationships, new ways of learning brought to us through our relationships. And, that can be one of the most rich, rewarding experiences that we can have, especially when maybe the material things aren't working as well for many of us out there. So, this is where we can find a lot of learning, a lot of healing, a lot of depth, a lot of intimacy, a lot of passion, a lot of emotional connection. So that's what we want to really look for this week. All right, everybody. This is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel. This is a free video blog that I do on YouTube every week. I would really like you to become a follower right now. If you have a YouTube account, turn on your notifications. What I really need you to do too is pass the link on right now. Even if you've done it for me before, please do it again. If you'd like to give a donation, it's at Matthew Lawton, Lauten on the Cash App, and at Matthew-Lawton, Lauten on Venmo. Every $5 will get you in a chance for reading. I would love to do a professional reading for you if you're ready for that. If you have a group that is looking for some kind of group astrology thing, like a class, lecture, workshop, all that stuff's available. Check out my website, www.astrologicalwinds.com. It has all that information. I do have 2 people who are interested in being students. If 2 more people would like that too, we could do a weekly live thing. If not, I do have student material available for you, both audio and written, and you can take that at your own pace. So that's another thing that's available too. If you're a professional looking for daily, weekly, or monthly readings to help you in your business or your life, I'm available for that too. So please, all that stuff, check the website, www.astrologicalwinds.com, or email me, matthue823@gmail.com. All right, next week I will take a look at the rest of November for the month and see what other outer planet activity we're having. And we'll take a look at next week too, and we'll go from there. I'll see you all then. way